Shabbat Shalom.
Why does he have to turn everything on himself?
Shabbat Shalom. Oh, that's nice. Thank you so much for coming out in the rain and the dark to be with us. It's a beautiful Shabbat. The Torah portion is Vayera, and we continue. I know this is like the old line where, you know, the Jew who doesn't know goes with the Jew who does know, and they go to the shul, and the Jew who does know says, I will explain to you as we go through the service. And at one point he says, everybody rise. He says, why are we rising? We're rising to show respect to God. And they open the ark and they bow. He says, why are we bowing? He says, more respect to God. He says, and then the rabbi gets up. He says, what's the rabbi going to do? He's going to speak. And then the rabbi carefully takes off his watch and puts it on the stender next to him. And the man says, what does that mean? He says, nothing at all. Don't even think about it. Okay. All right. However, I am. Who's out there? It's all right. I'm closing the door. No, I don't want to close the door for the greenhouses. They're nice people. All right. Anyway, so what's happening tonight in Torah land? In Torah land, I am pleased to share with you, as I did last week and the week before that, Abraham. Can't get too much of that Abraham stuff. And he continues. We want to wish him Refu'ahShelemah, quick and speedy recovery, because he had a circumcision this past week. He circumcised himself with a knife, with a flint knife. And I say, Kol HaKavod, more power to you, Abraham, better you than me. Whence we derive the custom of doing circumcision, which we kind of beat into the ground. That's a very bad metaphor. Last week, so we're going to leave it alone. But this is the part, as I pointed out in the past, I always think about it. You know, that great epic 1969, the Bible, in the beginning. And they always get a British guy to be the narrator. Because, as we all know, being Americans, if a person has a British accent, that gives their recitation a more portentous and significant thing. I don't know what it was. But anyway, this is the scene, if you recall, where Abraham and his beloved wife Sarah, and she's a pisher, she's a little filly. She's only 90. So, and you know, we have come to an age here in Florida where it is the same truism again. If you're 93, you're a teenager. I'm 67, I'm barely a fetus. So, really, it takes some thinking about. But he is sitting there in the tent, and his tent, which he ordered specially from LL Bean, is open on 4 sides. Why is it open on 4 sides? That's not very good for air circulation in the wilderness, because it's hot. I know, it's a dry heat. And every 15 minutes, another Israelite explodes. But he's sitting there looking for the opportunity to do his favorite mitzvah, which is Hachnasat Orchim, welcoming guests. And it was such a favorite mitzvah that I recall back in the 80s when my kids were little, it was a song selection from that well-known group with which you are certainly familiar, Uncle Moshe and the Mitzvah Men. Does anybody remember Uncle Moshe and the Mitzvah Men? He wore a fedora with a big mem on it. We took the kids to a concert. That's how starstruck we were, star-stricken we were, by Uncle Moshe. He said, Hachnasas Orchim is a very important mitzvah. Hachnasas Orchim is a very important mitzvah. They sang that about 12 times until we realized there's no more lyrics. They're from Brooklyn. They don't need lyrics. They have knishes. Okay, so he sees through one of the 4 entrances of the LL Bean tent that, behold, they say that a lot, behold, 3 men, mitzavim alav. They're not even coming here. See, they're angels. They don't arrive. They're just there. And he looks up, and there they are. And unlike the narrator who has the British accent, all 3 angels, as played by Peter O'Toole, has an Irish accent, which is much better if you're going to be an angel. Now, why are there 3 angels?
Why not?
Yes. Well, if you're an archangel, if you're Michael or Gabriel or Uriel or Uziel, there's 72 of them. My gosh, that's a lot. you can do more than one mission. But if you're a regular, run-of-the-mill angel, you can only perform one mission from God. And then you are reduced to heavenly ether. Poof, that's it. Maybe you come back as somebody else. But angels, really. Okay, so one angel is there for the Annunciation to tell Abraham and Sarah they're going to have a baby. Kim did a mazel tov, it's about time. 99 and 90, gee whiz. They had to run out to Toys R Us. You see, in those days, Toys R Us still existed. There wasn't all this mishigas, we're bankrupt, we're not bankrupt, we're coming back, we're not coming back. Maybe they ordered it from Amazon. Okay, so the second angel is there to rescue Lot and Mrs. Lot and the two Lotettes. And the third one is there to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, each one of them having one mission. So Peter O'Toole was very busy that day. And they say, and this is a beautiful bit of business, and if we all had the text, it would be so much more appreciable, because what happens is God becomes a member of the family. That's how Hamish, Sefer Breshit, the book of Genesis, is, where they have this business. Okay, so God or angel, the angel and God kind of swap identities, but we know the angel is not God. You got to get that out of the way theologically. It's God. God is speaking with Abraham. Abraham is not a bad prophet. He has nice little tete-a-tetes with God. Is he greater or not so great as Moses?
Not so great.
Moses is the tip-top. Moses is the chief of prophets, both of those who preceded and those who came after him, who spoke with God the way I'm speaking with you. Also a blue shirt. My goodness, I'm glad everybody got the bulletin. Okay, so what happens is that God or angel says to Abraham, around this time next year, it will be a very long pregnancy, because what will happen is Sarah will bear a son. Now, who's in the tent?
Hagar.
Okay, multiple choice. Hagar, Sarah, or Ishmael? Sarah. Ishmael, as a matter of fact, is on barbecue duty, okay, because Abraham said, go prepare a calf. And Ishmael's first reaction is, what, you're having fleishiks after milchiks? You gotta wait a half hour. But apparently the kosher laws weren't given yet. So Sarah in the tent says, shall I have pleasure now that I am old? And my Lord is so old, which is kind of a knock to Abraham, okay? Without going into detail, but I know we're all over 21 because I carded you. And she laughs, okay? And Abraham says, why did Sarah laugh? And God covers it up. He changes it, and he insults Sarah in the course of doing so. He says, Sarah said, shall I have pleasure in my old age because I'm so old? So never says anything about Abraham. Why did God lie? See, the Hebrew God is allowed to get away with stuff that mere mortals cannot.
Because it teaches us that we don't have to say everything that comes to our minds if it's going to be hurtful to someone else.
Right. God is preserving Sholom Bayis. What is Sholom Bayis? The peace of the household, really. Because if you don't have peace between husband and wife or partners or whomever, it's thunder and lightning. It's not a good thing. That's the rabbis. You can quote the rabbis on that, because the rabbis spent so much time at the Beis Medrash studying Torah that the Mrs. Rabbis were getting very upset about it. So, anyway, at that point, the two angels leave Abraham. He does accompany them, which is a very important aspect of Hachnasas Orchim. You can't just let your guests go. You should at least walk them to the elevator. That's what we used to do. And the two angels, the remaining angels, go down to Sodom and Gomorrah. What was the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah? It was not homosexuality. No, indeed. It was because they did not practice Hachnasas Orchim. They did not practice the mitzvah of welcoming guests. Okay? So, Lot, meanwhile, is living in Sodom and Gomorrah. And, it didn't take him long to realize, I really shouldn't be here. This isn't my kind of neighborhood. But by that time, you got a mortgage, you got the kids in school. You don't want to mess around. So they stay. It's a very sad neighborhood. And the angels come, and they're being with him in the house. And a crowd, a mob of Sodomites, that goes back to Oscar Wilde, gathers and says, who are these men with you? Send them out that we may know them. And unfortunately, even the classical commentators do a whole thing about this, about what exactly, we're not just getting acquainted, how are you, here's a box of candy, it's a different kind of thing. See again. I have this genius for killing batteries. Okay, so Lot comes out. You tell me if this is A1 commendable behavior. My lords, he says to them, do not take these men. I have under my roof 2 daughters who have not yet known man. Take them and leave the men alone. At which point the girls say, oh my God. You hear what Dad just said? Oh my God. Luckily, he is entertaining angels, and angels can do all kinds of stuff. One of the angels, do you know when the magician does the trick and he has something called flash paper, which goes up with a mighty flame and it astonishes everyone in the audience, and mostly it distracts you so he can hide the card or whatever it is. Well, they had the same thing. Apparently, the heavenly quartermaster had issued flash paper to the angels. He says, oh, you'll need this. It's like 007. Yes, which weapon is this? Oh, this is the Aston Martin that fires nuclear bullets. Okay, so anyway, he goes out, he throws, one of the angels opens the door, throws out the flash paper, it bursts into flame, blinding the men of Sodom, which is mostly metaphorical, and angel number 3, thank you, sir, hands the microphone to the rabbi. Angel number 3 grabs Lot by the scruff of his neck and pulls him into the house. And then the angels say, look, we were going to dance around this because we understand you owe the bank for this house, but we're going to have to leave town very quickly. Is there anything you absolutely cannot leave behind? Perhaps a book of photographs of the kids, perhaps a keepsake, maybe a becher, a silver wine cup that your Uncle Abraham left you. He says, no, it's all right, everything's fine. All I need are these 2 sacks of wine. And they say, sacks of wine? He says, I cannot go anywhere without my Manischewitz. It's a problem I have. So he and Mrs. Lot and the 2 daughters hightail it to the hills. What is significant here is that, now, according to Jared, well, we'll get to that, but this is the area around the Dead Sea, Yam HaMelach, the Salt Sea. Okay, who's gone swimming in the Dead Sea? Okay, we really have to have a swimming party. We'll just get everybody together, we'll pack some bologna sandwiches, because bologna is the only Jewish food which is totally impenetrable to spoilage. That's what we used to have. We would have the 2 bologna sandwiches on thick rye bread with seeds. Now what happens when the nice Jewish boy from the Lower East Side marries the nice Jewish girl from Brooklyn, and I like rye bread with seeds and she likes rye bread without seeds? What kind of rye bread do you buy? The one without seeds. Oh, without seeds. But I have to say, God bless her, my wife is very thoughtful indeed, because she said, we're going to get you a little container of caraway seeds and a tweezer, and you can put them in yourself. Okay? So, Lot and Mrs. Lot and the Lotettes are on their way to the Dead Sea, and the angel says, I'm telling you one thing, do one thing, don't look back. And what does Mrs. Lot do, that silly thing? She looks back and immediately is transformed into a brisket. Very good. A pillar of salt. A pillar of salt. And I was going to say, the Dead Sea is famous for having these salt sculptures, natural sculptures. And you could just see the Jews walking by and saying, oh, look at that, Moshe. What is that? Oh, Chaim, that is Mrs. Lot. No, what are you talking? It's a statue. Never mind, I got a story to tell you. Because what I did was, at the Dead Sea, this is a long time ago in 72, they took us to the Dead Sea, and I said, oh boy, the Dead Sea, hooray, hooray. I had a little cut on my finger because I'm very delicate. Like most Jewish men, very delicate. I had no Band-Aid because we're out there in the desert. We didn't even have a bus. We had a truck left over from the British mandate with canvas. Oh, I would have seen you. See, we could have. Oh, all right. We could have sung 99 bottles of Bitter Limon on the wall. Okay. So I go into the water because I'm so aquatic. I've swum at Coney Island. I've swum at Rockaway. Hoo-hoo. I tried swimming in Massachusetts, but it was really not a good thing. You're going up to your knees, and the rest of you says it's not a good idea. All right? Revere Beach. So I go in, and you see, I'm no dummy, okay? I detect with my years of experience walking in strange places underwater. I wasn't walking underwater. My nether parts were walking underwater. And it's all very pointy and sharp rocks, and I'm very delicate. So I get down on my hands and knees in the water because I'm walking on my hands. It's a very, yes, it's the shallow part is where I am. Also, I had to be careful because here and there was an old Egyptian chariot. I had to push it out of the way. And I know they didn't go through there. They went through Saugus. Okay, so anyway, I got a little drop of water in my eye. And you know how delicate we Jewish men are. I ran out of there screaming and roaring. I would have liked to swim a little longer. I would have liked to do the famous photograph of the people sitting with nothing but their tush on the water and the rest of them is elevated. Didn't happen. But the next day, my little boo-boo was all healed because of the astringent effect of the salt waters. Okay? It was all right. And afterwards, I took a shower and I felt much better. Actually, we went, all right, let's get back to Lot and Mrs. Lot. She looks back. Now, James Kugel, who is my favorite Jewish scholar because he's got that cool name. Okay, there's also Robert Alter. And Kugel says it may have been a stone sculpture which resembled Mrs. Lot. And it is true, okay, in the Sinai, that you will see natural sculptures. There was one called Ross Kennedy, which is the head of, come on, which American president? Okay, but it was like the old man of the mountain in New Hampshire. We lived in New Hampshire. You had to look at it only from a certain angle, because if you moved 1 inch to the right or the left, it was no longer Kennedy. All right. So anyway, now I think you know this part. This is where Mrs. Lot is no longer in the picture, so it's just him and the two girls, neither of whom has a name, which kind of shows you how the Torah values women. Oh yes. They go into a cave, which is as good a place as any to hang out, and they are convinced of one thing, because they do not have a radio. They do not have one of those cute little Japanese televisions, which is probably Korean by now or Chinese. They do not have even a telegraph key. So they are convinced that they are the last people living in the world. Now, what do you do if you're a semi-Israelite and you are the last 2 people, 3 people left in the world?
Procreate.
You have got to procreate, which is what they used to call it before it became fun. And now Lot's in a complete daze. He's got those 2 wine sacks. He's happy. Maybe it wasn't Manischewitz. Maybe it was Kedem. Kedem was like Manischewitz going to school. Manischewitz is really cough medicine with an OU. And he's in the corner drinking. He's having a little party all by himself. And the 2 girls, older girl says to younger girl, they really should have names. Gladys and Florence. Gladys says to Florence, we must procreate, for behold, we are the only 2 people left in the world. Says, what about Dad? Yes, we need Dad, but not for helping us with our math homework. And the first says to the second, behold, we will get Papa drunk, and we can see he's got 3 sheets to the wind already. And tonight, I will lie with him, and tomorrow night we'll do the same thing, and you will lie with him. And the only thing I can come up with is that the younger one is totally speechless, okay? But that's what they do. And from this coupling come the tribes of Moab and Ammon. Moab means, you remember how when you were in the schoolyard as a kid, the worst thing you could say about a kid you didn't like was making nasty remarks about their parents, father, mother. And in this case, that's what the Israelites did. Whoever wrote Genesis, or at least this section, said, we don't get along with the Moabites, we don't get along with the Ammonites, this is our excuse for insulting them forever. But personally, I don't think Moab and Ammon, well, Moab means from father, and Ammon means the people of...
Kith and kin.
Yes, yes. You don't want to get the kith too close to the kin, okay? See, I personally believe it's like the same thing in Exodus and Shemot, where it says, Moses has just pulled the coming out of the water bit, and they said, we called him Moshe, we called him Moses, because Kimin Hamaya Mishitehu, for he was drawn out of the water. That's not the meaning of Moses. In the Egyptian language, for example, you have Ramses, you have Thutmose, son of Ra, the sun god, son of Thut, okay? Moses means son of ? Because nobody knew. I mean, they knew his father was Amram, but Amram barely appears in the story. He's just a name check, and that's about it. Well, so what do we learn from all this? Oh, at the very end, and I'm not going to expand upon this because we all know it from the second day of Rosh Hashanah, it's the Akedat Yitzchak. It's the sacrifice of Isaac. And I've spoken about this numerous times, and quite honestly, I am not very fond of Abraham's behavior in this particular episode, because, after all, when he hears from God that God is going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, what is Abraham's reaction?
He stops them.
Bargains.
He bargains with them. What if there are 40 righteous people and God says, I won't destroy it for the sake of the 40? What about 30? What about 20? He gets them down to 10, and God says, I will not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah if you can find 10 righteous people in that town. We're still looking for the 10 righteous people. How many people do you need for a minion?
10.
There you go. Okay? But in this instance, okay, so he bargains God down, but when God says, take your son, he says, I have 2 sons. I have Ishmael. Your only son, meaning I'm not counting Ishmael, which is sad, it's a knock against Ishmael, whom you love. He says, I love them both. He says, Isaac. Then he gets to Isaac. And it's really tragic. He never opens a mouth. He never protests. The only thing I can say, something which would apply to everyone, would be the father, the mother, who works very hard at the office, who spends hour after hour after hour trying to make a good parnasa, a good living for their family. And the kid says, Dad, you said you were going to take us on a picnic. He says, well, I got to go to the office. Dad, can you help me with my math? Well, the boss just called me. Because now there are no boundaries. You know, the cell phone has done away with that. It's really a lesson for us all. You could be the greatest prophet on earth. You can be the most wonderful founder of a new religion, this whole ethical monotheism thing. And yet you have feet of clay. He doesn't. What?
It was his 10th test.
Yeah, and what would have happened? Oh, okay, let me finish with this. It was Abraham Joshua Heschel when he asked his Rebbe when he was a little boy, because he was an Eloi, he was a genius. Rebbe, what would have happened if the angel had been late in holding back Abraham's hand? And the Rebbe very wisely said, an angel cannot be late. He said, yes, angels cannot be late, said Heschel, but a human being, a creature of flesh and blood, can be. So don't miss the opportunity. Don't forget to help your fellow human being. And for goodness sake, if somebody's going to sacrifice their kid, stop them. Okay, at least put your hand on the donkey. All right, Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. We're going to light candles now. All right, and you've got the big book. The Chazan has the big book, so.
The only one left.
Okay, all right, let's see. Would you like to light candles?
Sure.
Okay, we just have to light them, and then we do the blessing together. All right, all the ladies kind of move in that direction. Thank you for your attention.
I'm not right about that.
The women are supposed to light the candles.
What? Oh, I'm going to walk this way? Okay.
Oops.
Oh, nice to see you. Okay. It's all right. All you have to do is strike a match.
Okay.
Just like the 2 candles. All right, roll it out. Now just put it on the plastic thing. Now we wave our hands over the candles. We're bringing Shabbat. We cover our eyes and do the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Turn to the person next to you. Wish them good Shabbos. Thank you so much. How you doing? Yes, from that person.
Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom Aleichem Elyon.
Oh, yes, that's fine.
Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem Shalom Aleichem Elyon. Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la Shalom Aleichem Shalom Aleichem Elyon. Melech Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tzedkem b'shalom. Malachei Shalom Aleichem Elyon. Melech Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat. Yes, very much. From La La La, and I appreciate all those hours of rehearsal.
Yeah. Okay, the Chadodi.
Yes, the Chadodi. Big hit in the 15th century. Okay. 21.
לחדתי לקראת כלה, ונשמה לקראת כלה, לחדתי לקראת כלה, ונשמה לקראת כלה. לחדתי לקראת כלה, ונשמה לקראת כלה. לחדתי לקראת כלה, ונשמה לקראת כלה. Page 22, please rise, face the door. We'll do the fourth stanza, and we'll face the door through which the Sabbath King will enter. בואי בשלום עתיד בלט, גם בשמחה ובצולה, גם בשמחה ובצולה. תוך אמוני ים סגולה, בואי כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, לך דודי לקראת שבת, ולשבת לקרבה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, ולשבת Please remain standing. At this time, I want to call upon someone who's very dear to all of us, and we've missed you, and we're so glad you're here. Page 28, Ms. Laura Durant, if you'll honor us by opening the ark. And the curtain, please. Just give it a pull. Okay. Well, you're gonna have to close the curtain. Good.
I'm right here.
Oh, good. Everybody's gotta be someplace. Okay, we'll bow towards the Is closed, but I'm going to ask everyone to please remain standing after the curtain is closed, because we're going to make Shechayanu for our dear Laura. Baruch atah
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shekayanu v'yanu b'zman hazeh.
Amen.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בדברו בריא ורבים בחוכמה פותח שערים ובתבונה משנים טיב ומחלים את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונם בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני יום ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומרדין בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני אמרים ורבים.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to hold the place on the Shema, but we're going to, well, right now, let's move to 357 before the cantor does Ohev Amo Yisrael. We'll do this. This is Rabbi Kushner, page 357. It's Rabbi Harold Kushner. Most of us know him as the author of When Bad Things Happen to Good People. And let's do this responsively, stanza by stanza. 357. Okay? I'm not asking God to change the world. I'm not asking God to make this a world where people no longer die, where people are automatically good, where they must choose good because they're incapable of evil. Together?
If I were sure of God, if I could be sure that justice, courage, and peace were things that God wanted,
I'm not sure I'd go on working for them. If I didn't believe God cared about me and how I live, that God takes every human life seriously and invests it with significance, I couldn't believe that the world was on the way to becoming God's kind of world. I think I'd be too scared of death and evil to help anyone. So I'm not asking God to change the world for me. I ask only one thing of God, nothing but this: reassurance that God is there, that God is real, that God makes a difference. Let's continue reading the final stanza. Let me know that, let me find God in my own power to grow and to believe, to sanctify and to help others. And I will know that I am not alone. My world will be filled with light and strength. And back to 29, and Cantor will do it.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותם ולמען אהלתה על כן אדוני אלוהינו ושוכבנו וקומנו תשיח בחוקך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו ובהם יומם ולילה ואהבתך לתסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל.
Page 30, we have the Shema. Cover the eyes to show God cannot be seen, only for the first line. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Uncover the eyes. Baruch Shem Kevod Mahuto L'Olam Vaed. And reading the English paragraph, you shall love. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children, and recite them at home and away, night and day. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, and as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and on your gates. Please read silently from the bottom of 30 to the top of 31. And continuing on 32, middle of the page, Mi Chamocha, the oldest piece of poetry in the Bible.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Mi kamocha ba'olim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'or hakodesh, norati lo sefer, norati lo.
יהלום יד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני,
All right, on 33, the top left, those of you who are visiting us for the first time, this is the portion of the service where we go around and if anybody, if you know somebody, a friend, family, Jew, Gentile, anyone at all, in need of Refu'ahShelemah, quick and speedy recovery, mention their name, and we will wish that to them. And then we will read together the top left-hand paragraph. We're also very cognizant of our brothers and sisters in the state of Israel, Reshit Geulatenu, the beginning of our redemption, who have undergone rocket attacks over the past period of time, and we hope that they're okay, and that kids especially can get on with their lives. And at this time, I'm thinking about Howard E. Lackman, Refu'ahShelemah, Howard Shulman, Refu'ahShelemah, and we'll start over here. Yes.
Cy Sperling
Refu'ahShelemah,
and Serafina Klein.
Refu'ahShelemah,
James Bass Major.
Refu'ahShelemah. Yes. Refu'ahShelemah, yes. Yeah, I'll get there, sir. Yes, doctor. Okay, yes.
I am Yehuda Ben Mordechai.
Refu'ahShelemah. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Marilyn Kaner and Lenny Rosenberg.
Refu'ahShelemah. Okay, Paul.
Russell Shotker, Martin
Refu'ahShelemah.
Reynolds,
Refu'ahShelemah.
Vishnam Pet, Beit Hayanathan, Art
Refu'ahShelemah.
Dozer,
Refu'ahShelemah.
David Weinrab, Joel Shankman, Stuart Epstein, Irv McCreary,
Refu'ahShelemah.
Steve Smith, and Max Kroll.
Refu'ahShelemah. Yes.
Robert Rothstein.
Refu'ahShelemah. Okay, yes.
David Ray Castillo, Terry Noonan, Robert Kaufman, Hope Killian, Vanity Singleton, Najam Ben-Dov, Scott Kimmis.
Refu'ahShelemah. Yes.
Stan Kahn.
Refu'ahShelemah. Yes.
Procats,
Refu'ahShelemah.
Marsha Goodhart,
Refu'ahShelemah.
and Lola Campo.
Refu'ahShelemah.
Bruce Martin,
Refu'ahShelemah.
Heidi Dennis.
Refu'ahShelemah. Yes.
Laurie Glenn.
Refu'ahShelemah. Okay. All right. Let's read together the top left-hand paragraph on 33. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace, and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise be to Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people Israel, over Jerusalem, and the entire world. Ufros aleinu, sukat shlomecha, baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, yal kol amo Yisroel, yal Yerushalayim, yal kol haolam kulo. Amen. 34 is the Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות olam berit olam beni uen bnei Israel odi leolam beni uen bnei Israel odi leolam ki sheshet yamim asa השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
Please rise, have Kaddish 34.
Yigdal v'gid kadash Shem Rabbah.
Amen.
Yarma dibra kirutei v'yamrik malchutei. Veitnasek, veitadar, veitale, veitalal, Shmei Godeshar, Veila minikol virkata veshirata, Shlush vechata venet vemata damina
The Amidah, the standing silent prayer, 35b to 38, after which you may be seated, or you can read the whole thing, or you can focus on one or two lines. That's what I like. Shalom, Shalom Bibroma, Uyase Shalom Aleinu Ve'ale Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen.
All right, the full Kaddish, 48.
In gadol v'yitkad Hashem הרבה, ועלמא נברא חילותי וימליך מלכותי וחיי קורא וימליך קורא וחיי קורא את ישראל, בעלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, יהי שמי רב ומבורך, לעולם יום יומיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלן שמי קודשו. לילה בין כל מלכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה ובינה ועלמה ואמרו, תתקבל את צלותו ובאותו לכל ישראל, כדמות ושמיה ואמרו, יהי שלום הרבה בין שמיה וחיים עלינו על כל ישראל ואמרו, עושה שלום לדרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן, עושה שלום דברומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. You're not learning that too, no? I get it. I bet you. Betcha.
Okay, please rise. We want to thank our beloved president for being the Kiddush person. I tried saying macher, but it doesn't really work.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hakafeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hashem קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, בשבת קודשו, ימה ורצון הקינו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית. יום תפילון למקראי קודש, לחם לציון משחרים, עמנו בחרת, אנו נידשת, מכל העמים בשבת קודשך.
Sholom, absent, please.
I just needed this.
All right. Okay, we're swinging right into Aleinu. Everybody loves the Aleinu. Back, we're going to open the ark. Okay. If you can open the ark, sure. Donna, if you can open the ark also. Swing into the ark.
Aleinu leshabeach gadol hakol v'aseitu al Yosef Reshit, shelo asanu k'mnei arasot, ve'oson ma'im v'chol ha'alav, shelo sanrem kedotahem, ve'ol rameinu v'chol
All right, the ark is closed. If you're not saying Mourner's Kaddish, you may be seated. Thank you, ladies. Mourner's Kaddish 52. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Ramah, amen. Yomad yivrach irutei v'yamlich machutei. L'chayei chon v'yimei chon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. V'agalah v'zman kariv v'yimru, amen. Yehi shmei Ramah v'vorach v'yam v'le'mayah. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei t'kudisha v'richu. V'ela minikol birachata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Damiran v'yalma v'yimru, amen. Yehi shmama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim olenu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom v'romah. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yal kodesh v'tevel v'yimru. Amen. All right, we also, for the good of the order, want to offer a sincere and heartfelt condolences to Dr. Sharon Gilbert, her husband, their family, on the loss of her beloved mother, and to you we say, Makom yinachem etchem b'tosh ha'arav alei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May the Almighty comfort you with the rest of the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We'll say Amen. Amen. And now a few announcements by our wonderful president.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos.
Thank you. I love being with you, you know that already. Welcome to everyone who hasn't been here before. I know you've been here before, but welcome back. Welcome Jennifer and Louis all the way from Winnipeg. Long way. We're so happy you're here. And Ben, you always bring someone beautiful.
Oh,
I
it's
do.
so sweet.
They are more happy. We have to tell them that because of the weather, they are more happy than the people of Winnipeg to be here.
We're so happy to have all of you with us and to celebrate Shabbat together. I'm going to go quickly because I have a lot to tell you about this weekend and one thing about something in December. Tomorrow, after our more traditional morning services, Rabbi has his class, which will be...
Yes, we're going to do Jeremy Bentham, his philosophy, and to sum it up in one phrase, he's seeking the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And that would be a nice motto for these days.
That sounds really wonderful, especially after the what was on TV today. So let's go for good. Everything good. On Sunday, Dr. Murray Lichtenstein is going to do his lecture on words, on the derivation of words that come from our biblical heritage and that we use today. Am I describing that well?
Beautifully.
Okay.
That's a word.
Do not miss Dr. Lichtenstein's lectures. Sunday at 3 o'clock. They're just riveting, and we're hoping that this one lecture will turn into 2, maybe 3. All of his subjects are incredible. We had a 3-part series on the Dead Sea Scrolls that was like nothing else ever. So please come and support our wonderful Dr. Lichtenstein and our beautiful synagogue at the same time. On Monday, we have a really busy day. Our wonderful Laura Durant is back in action, and her group, Aging Gracefully, meets at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. Since no one wants to age like a klutz, you have to come. You must come. Laura is a very experienced therapist. I speak about it with joy because it is also a joyful experience, but a very serious one as well, where we all get to talk our hearts out in the safest, most beautiful environment, because we have Laura with us, and it's so wonderful to have you back with us. I can't say enough about it. Right after Laura's group, at 11:30, a Tai Chi master is coming to Temple Sholom to Tai Chi masterfully. He is going to do a demonstration and a talk about Tai Chi. We are hoping to establish a class here at Temple Sholom, and that will be something wonderful. It's a beautiful mind-body experience. It's very gentle and very beneficial for our health and well-being. When Tai Chi is done, at 1 o'clock, yes, I'm telling you, Jeff Sadikoff, who's one of our wonderful members, is an expert on Medicare. And with things, I think December 7th is the cutoff point for switching your plans, or if you have any questions about your plans, Jeff will be in our beautiful rotunda to answer any questions you might have. So 8:45 is the minyan. We need you for the morning minyan, Mondays and Thursdays. It's a gorgeous way to start the day anyway. And we need 10 of you. You heard Rabbi, we need 10. And after that is Laura's group, followed by Tai Chi demonstration, and then the Medicare helpful hour for all of us who are in that position. So we are scheduled with events through February, but I want to show you something. If you see this poster in the lobby, take a look for the most adorable cantor on it. It's our cantor Javier. On December 24th, it will be a Hanukkah concert, and he is appearing along with other cantors, but he's the best one. So we want
Chinese food.
So we want to support Cantor Javier in everything that he does. So the flyers are out on the little podium in the lobby. It's at Temple Anshe Shalom in Delray Beach. It's not that far. I know just where it is, I'll tell you. And we want to support our cantor. He is also going to be doing something here in February, but I can't tell you about it yet. So. And December 27th, we're having our Hanukkah Shabbaton here. Everyone bring your menorahs. We're going to have a mass lighting of the menorahs. We had that last year. It was absolutely spectacular, and we again will celebrate together. There'll be lots of other things in between, so check your bulletin. I'm in the office on Mondays and Thursdays. Joni and Terry are in those days and Wednesdays as well. So we're all here to help you and to be with you, even just to have a cup of coffee. So a good Shabbos to all.
Good Shabbos.
Muy bien.
Do we judge the cantors for adorableness? Don't misunderstand me. I think you're plenty adorable.
You better behave. Your wife is going to know what I do. You know what says the parasha of this week? Whatever Sarah says, you do. Whatever you do. So you better behave. Yeah, this is today. Okay, muy bien. Page number 54. Adon Nola, Asher Mara, V'terer kol yitzir nima, Yetnasa v'ketzoko, Azai melech shelo nikra, V'yacharei kidron tamteol, V'yohadol yidom kora, Mehu aya, Mehu ovel, Mehu yiyeh v'tikara, Mehu echad, Sheri, Ramshilo, Rakia, V'nireshit, V'nisapit, V'lo'ao, V'am Yisra, V'hu Eli, V'chayoli, V'tzur Chemli, V'yetzah, V'hu Yisi, U'manosi, Menat Kosi, V'yom Nekra, V'yavo,
He's younger than I am. Please rise. Lord bless you and keep you. Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Lord turn his face unto you and grant you peace. And we'll say Amen.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 smile. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat.